Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. You have tuned into the Rebel News live stream on this, a Tuesday, May 3rd, 2022. I'm David Menzies, and my co-host. Let me tell you a little bit about my co-host, will you? Do you know, folks, today is National Paranormal Day?
No.
And if I could have anyone haunt my house, it would be her. She's always looking super duper behind the wheel of her Mini Cooper. She is the Khaleesi of Leslieville. She is Natasha Biazzi. How you doing, Natasha?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Hey, listen, how much would you charge to haunt a house?
Ooh, I don't think you could afford me.
Well, no, the correct answer is, how many rooms does it have? Okay, so
Oh my goodness.
and then you base it on that. It's kind of like a cleaning service. By the way, do you believe in paranormal activity, Natasha?
I don't know. I don't know. I believe in the spiritual realm. I'm a Christian, so I do believe in demons and things like that, but I don't know if I specifically believe in ghosts.
Well, you know what? Once upon a time, I didn't believe in ghosts until we moved here to this current Rebel News headquarters.
It's haunted, huh?
When you stay late, and I'm not making this up, folks. I'm not trying to be funny. I've been here alone by myself, and no, I wasn't imagining anything, and no, I wasn't inebriated. I hear footsteps on the roof, which is really scary because this is not a two-story building we're in.
Yeah.
It's either a ghost or it is a 300-pound raccoon because the whole ceiling, and I'm not the only one. I've gone around to other staff. It is absolutely terrifying. So you know what? Since it is National Paranormal Day, if you're going to do a super chat, why don't you weigh in? A yay or nay? Thumbs up, thumbs down on the ghosties. And Natasha, at this point, I guess you tell the folks what it is that we're trying to do here today.
Yes, so as you all know, this is our daily live stream here every weekday at 12 p.m. And right now we are currently streaming on YouTube, Rumble, Super U, Odyssey, and Getter. We are going to maybe touch on some COVID stuff later, so we may have to hop off YouTube. So be sure to click the link in the description. And please send us in your chats about ghosts, about whatever else we're talking about. We would love to hear from you, and we appreciate all of your donations. So should we hop right into it then?
100%. And by the way, if we are going to veer towards anything that is not, how do we call it, YouTube safe? You see, the censorious thugs of Silicon Valley, they have an absolute definitive position when it comes to free speech, which is if you don't agree with certain narratives, the coronavirus, election fraud in 2020. Oh, by the way, fill your boots about election fraud in 2016. That's okay to talk about. Well, we've already been demonetized for no good reason at all. We don't want to lose our audience at YouTube. I mean, I think we have, over 1.6 million subscribers. But there is a list, unfortunately, folks, of topics that are in no man's land when it comes to YouTube and Google. So if we veer on to that, we might have to say adieu. So go on to Super U, Getter, Odyssey. Am I missing anyone?
I don't think so.
Okay,
I think
then.
you nailed it. Rumble.
Rumble,
Yeah.
of course.
It's a big one.
Ramble into Rumble, you'll see. I think that was the name of a delership in Toronto once upon a time, and that was their slogan.
I was too young.
Anyway.
Too young to know. No.
Well, I hope this is not a verboten topic. Natasha, abortion is suddenly back in the news. What's going on?
Yeah, so I guess last night Politico broke the story that there was, I guess, a leaked memo that Roe v. Wade is projected to be overturned.
Really?
Big deal. Big deal. Obviously, this is a very contentious topic, but conservatives are very, very excited about this. How do you feel about it?
Well, first of all, I don't think there's a chance of it being overturned, quite frankly. I mean, if I was a betting man, of course, I bet against the Leafs last night, and look what happened. 5-0 Tampa Bay. I won't say what I really think of my team. But in any event, I think... I don't think if I had to bet on this, Natasha, I don't think it's going to go anywhere. It's interesting to see how it's being politicized north of the border. I saw Jagmeet Singh weigh in. I was listening to him on talk radio on my way into. Well, he said, abortion rights are safe, but of course the government has to do more about providing access to women who want an abortion. Wait a minute, the government? That would be you, wouldn't it, Jagmeet? I mean, you're the guy propping up this terrible government. You're the fourth place party leader, and suddenly you're talking about the government in the third person. So I'm not buying that. But you know what? This is always the bugaboo in Canada, especially when it comes to conservatives. The hidden agenda, Natasha. One of the elements of the hidden agenda, and we go back to the most recent conservative government, Stephen Harper, the attack on abortion rights, but it never happens.
No.
This must be so hidden that it's like 3 miles underground because there's never a movement on changing the abortion law here. And sorry, I misspoke. That's the problem. Canada is one of the few nations in the world, it might be the only nation in the world, we don't have a law one way or the other regarding abortion.
Not really restricting it, no. You can basically, a doctor can kind of find a way to justify an abortion up to any time in the pregnancy. So it's up to their discretion, frankly.
I find that incredibly problematic because if you're talking about right when the baby is being conceived, and we've seen this happen in U.S. clinics, to me, that's no longer abortion. That is first-degree murder.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's infanticide.
Yeah. But abortion, is one of those topics in Canadian politics. It's like a third rail. If you weigh in, especially on curtailing what you said, like right up to the baby being conceived, you are going to be demonized and vilified. It's kind of like when you talk about any idea towards fixing the healthcare system. We have a public healthcare system. There are some clinics that are grandfathered. Funny how guys like the former leader of the NDP, the late Jack Layton, when he had his hernia operated on, he didn't go to the public system. He went to the Shouldice Clinic in Thornhill and then pretended he didn't know it was a private clinic.
Goodness.
But the fact remains, and I don't want to get off on too much of a tangerine here, but when I've studied the healthcare systems around the world, I think the best are in some European countries like Germany and France. 2-tier. Yeah, it's not a dirty word, folks. 2-tier.
Yeah.
And basically, if you're in the public system, here's how you're helped by a privatized system. If I have enough money to get a private operation and you're behind me and I take myself out of the public line, you automatically move up a space.
Yeah.
So it's win-win. Those who can afford it. And by the way, contrary to public belief, the public sector hospitals are not ghettos. They are just as fine as the private sector ones. So anyways, when it comes to abortion, when it comes to healthcare, these are third rail topics. And it's too bad because this is cowardice. We should expect better from our leaders. But how do you feel that there's any chance in this being...
Well, I feel like because this memo was leaked, there's something suspect going on. Like, why would they leak this before the vote or before they vote it down or however it works in the United States? I am not privy to the system, to be honest. But I find it a little suspect. Like, why are they stirring this sort of polarization now? Because,
maybe as a distraction?
Right, exactly.
You
It's
know, when you're
very
paying over
odd.
$6 a gallon for gasoline
Right.
and inflation is going through the roof and
Yeah.
unemployment is increasing. Look over here, folks, the abortion
Exactly.
debate. That's my theory.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, frankly, I hope it is overturned. I'm very pro-life. And one of the things I just wanted to touch on quickly when you were talking about Jagmeet Singh is that he always talks like the argument on the left, for the most part, about abortion is typically that, like, if you make it illegal, more women are going to be harmed. But actually, that's not true, because apparently the number of women who died from illegal abortions prior to Roe v. Wade was actually inflated by those lobbying for the legalization of it. So this like narrative about how women are just going to start dying in the streets and stuff because they're giving themselves abortions, it's a lie. It's a lie.
Well, Natasha, let's talk about the number of women or girls or babies, as the case might be, that die in the womb because of their sex. And what I speak of, I'm going by memory on an abortion report we did, I think since the early 70s worldwide. The estimation is something like 29 million baby girls were aborted only because they were girls, because the family was in a culture where they prize a male child over a female child. And when you ask the left, Natasha, as I have, what do you, because they always go, woman's right to choose, woman's right to choose. When you say, what about sex-selective abortions? That the only reason this baby is being aborted is because of her sex, their heads explode. They will not answer the question, because to me, that is misogyny. It's pure misogyny.
It's evil. It's child sacrifice.
100%. And by the way, when we talk about the debate of pro-life and, well, they call it pro-choice, but it's really pro-death, because if you're pro-choice, that means pro-abortion. It's funny how they monkey around with the words, isn't it, folks? I'll ask our team behind the board if they can dredge up a video from, I think it was 2018. Myself and super producer Efren went to the lawns of Queen's Park. There was an abortion debate going on. There were two groups. There was the pro-life and there was the pro-abortion groups. Before we run the video, if they can find it, folks, can you possibly guess which group was kind and intellectual and had nice comments, and which group were like a bunch of toddlers screaming at a toy store for mommy to get them the latest gizmo? It's so telling, and I hope we can dig up that video. But while we're looking for that video, speaking of videos about abortion, I believe we have one here, which is signs outside of the Supreme Court of the U.S. I stand with Planned Parenthood. Let's check out who these folks are.
Oh, yeah. Bands off my body. Okay. Oh, man.
You know what? You pointed out that sign. Good job, Natasha. Your eagle eyes never fail me. Bands off my body.
That's
Of course,
interesting.
we'll also see signs there. I would bet my life. My body, my choice. I bet you, Natasha, the majority of the people, if not all of them, were totally down with get vaccinated or lose your job.
Yep.
Right? So my body, my choice, I think to them, pertains to the termination of a baby's life and not about a vaccine for COVID-19. What do you think?
Well, and that's exactly it, though. It's not just your body when you get an abortion. There are two people involved. Like, you are a human being at conception, like the science tells us. Like, you know. So I don't know why these people are science deniers when it's convenient for them.
Yeah.
You know, it's hilarious almost. Got to laugh to keep from crying.
It's amazing. They're either science deniers or they're very selective about their science, and they seem to embrace what I would call weird science. You remember that movie from the 80s, Weird Science?
Wasn't alive yet.
Well, it was a terrible movie. You didn't miss anything, but the title was good, and it's really a fitting title for what we have today. And let's see, we have Bloomberg is reporting that President Biden said, quote, at the federal level, we will need more pro-choice senators and a pro-choice majority in the House to adopt legislation that codifies Roe. You know, end quote. I think, again, Natasha, this is, the proverbial making a mountain out of a molehill.
Yeah.
This is a distraction, and it is because of Sleepy Joe being so appalling as a president. I think this is the worst U.S. president in my lifetime. And yeah, folks, I'm including Jimmy Carter, 1976 to 1980. And that's one hell of a benchmark, to go beyond. What are your thoughts, Natasha?
Well, I find it interesting because these Democrats always talk about, racism and sexism and bigotry, but Planned Parenthood, which is the #1 provider of abortions in the United States, was founded by a white supremacist and a eugenicist. So it's interesting how they like to just pick and choose, when they're supporting something or when something's racist. It's so hypocritical.
Totally agree. And it's shameful. And it's also shameful, if the team is able to get that video, how we can't have an honest debate, right? And I think I see some images. Will you see some of the madness Efren and I encountered on the legislature? I think it was 2018, if memory serves, by the pro-choice so-called crowd. Check it out.
Camp here today, but nevertheless, why don't we go to some of these people and find out what brings them out here today? Well, you can see this gentleman holding a sign above his face, being pro-life is against my religion. And then I think I have the answer to what the religion is. There's a pentagram there. That would be a symbol associated with Satanism.
Oh my gosh.
Now I'm wondering, who was in the news recently kicking a pro-life protester who was also wearing a pentagram? Let's roll that footage right now.
It's a baby. If someone was raped and she gave birth and she decided to kill her 3-year-old child.
Now there's a fellow with he looks like a punk rocker from the 1980s with the haircut and the body piercings, holding up a sign stating, I wish I was aborted. You know, folks,
my gosh.
There's a punchline just dangling there. I'm not going to say it. Here's another profound sign. Why is it that most of the people who are against abortion are the same people you wouldn't want to F in the first place? I guess he's suggesting that pro-life people are sexually unattractive, that they're ugly. And isn't it the loving left that is so against body shaming? Once again, folks, does not compute.
Oh, these people are unhinged.
Hi, sir.
Can't wait.
Menzies,
Oh, that's a nice greeting. You don't want to talk about why you're here?
go away.
Okay. All right, we'll try this lady. Hi, ma'am. Can I ask you what brings you out to this rally?
What brings me out to this rally? My right to choose.
Okay, then. How do you feel about
Left.
Oh, apparently we have members of Antifa here, and they're telling these people that they shouldn't be talking to us.
I'm nobody's handmaid.
You're nobody's handmaid? And how do you feel about gender selective abortions? How do you feel about
You, suck a d- Can you air any of this? Suck a d-
Guess you can.
you can't articulate your points better than
I
yelling?
just don't want you to be able to post any of this online. You, butthole, suck a d-
That backfired. eh?
Well, that's quite profound, but I was hoping to find out what her position was. Can you ask me one question? Ma'am, what is your position on sex-selective abortions?
You asshole.
You don't care that 20...
Liar. You are a liar.
What have I said that's been a lie so far?
Liar. My body, my choice. My body,
What about the?
my body, my choice.
What? What about the?
Oh, Juliet, Juliet, wherefore art thou?
You know, they have a way with words. They only know one, but they have a way with it.
You know, yeah, they make No More Comments lady on Parliament Hill look like a paragon of truth and virtue.
Yeah, she at least knows a few more words.
You know, Natasha, what is it, you know, and I don't think I'm giving an inaccurate, rather, definition here, but when we see people on the far left, they can't articulate their positions. I was very politely, I think, asking them questions. The big bugaboo in the room being sex-selective abortions, girls being aborted just because they don't have the Y chromosome. And what do we see? We see profanity, we see yelling. And by the way, I can tell you this, if the police were not there en masse, Efren and I would have had our butts kicked. I'm telling you that right now, folks. That was a hostile, angry mob. And just look at this. There's the Antifa coalition, fingers up. And here's a full masking guy. A good 2 years before COVID was even in the vernacular. Natasha, the bigger picture about the far left, by the way, that last clip is lovely. Why don't we roll a little bit, guys, of the pro-life people as
Certainly
a contrast?
you have your opponents over there. But we've noticed that on campus, those supporting pro-life, they have their displays damaged, they are physically assaulted. Why is it that these people that are opposing your viewpoint want to shut down your voice?
I don't know, it makes me feel really sad, and I think that the way to make something good come of this and have people feel healed and appreciated on both sides is not violence, compassion. Compassion for the mother who's been hurt, compassion for the baby who's been hurt. It's not an either or, it's a both. It's a love both, it's a heal both.
Mostly because the more extreme they get on the abortion issue, the louder they have to yell to drown out the sounds of their own conscience.
They're supposed to be so accepting, but I think the big issue that they're having a hard time with is cognitive dissonance. They know that they don't have a moral argument, so the only way that they can quantify that and sort of cope with that in their own mind is to act in the most immoral way possible, to validate their own immoral thoughts.
The culture is...
Wow.
You know, Natasha, Billy Joel had a great song with the lyric, I'd rather laugh with the sinners than cry with the saints. And, oh, folks, on that lawn that day, I'm crying with the saints because there's no laughter with the sinners. It's vulgarity and abuse and an inability to convey their position. My question to you, Natasha, why is it those on the far left are completely unable to have a logical debate?
Yeah, I think partially it's that they don't actually understand what they believe. I think that's a lot of it. I think they do what they're told because the mainstream media and Hollywood push this narrative about my body, my choice, and you know, people are sheep. If you don't believe in something, if you don't have convictions about stuff, you're going to be swayed when the masses start pushing that narrative on you, right? I think that's partially it. I think, as the gentleman in your video said too, people, there's no moral argument for it, and they don't want to have to reconcile the fact that it is killing a living human.
Yeah, and, you know, I think it's all about, too, indoctrination, Natasha. We've talked about this before in the past. In the last decade, a saying that's entered the popular culture vernacular is punch a Nazi. And now, if you are someone hell-bent on global conquest and you're carrying out a genocide, yeah, you can use the N-word, Nazi. But what that really means, folks, is if someone has a contrarian opinion to you, they are therefore a Nazi, and the way to resolve the debate is not with words and ideas, but with physical violence. That is what the left subscribes to today.
But isn't that what toddlers do when they don't get their own way? They can't articulate their thoughts and their feelings, so they start throwing stuff or hitting stuff or something. You know, it's embarrassing.
It is embarrassing and it's shameful. And again, I think it speaks to the indoctrination that these people are receiving, as you said, in popular culture, in higher places of learning, and I would argue even at high school and elementary.
Yeah.
It is a form of Marxism. It is about tearing things down to rebuild back in a Marxist visionary way. And of course, we all know every Marxist nation is a shithole beyond redemption. So those are the pro-abortion people just saying, why don't we move on? I see something woke nonsense. According to the CBC, some universities are confronting their controversial namesakes, and more than names are changing. Holy mackerel, you mean beyond Ryerson University, my old alma mater, folks, that last week changed their name into basically the name of a subway station, Toronto Metropolitan University. Could you pick anything more bland than that?
I know.
So is there more to come then?
Well, that's the thing. Like, where does this end? Is everything just going to become nameless? And even okay, what about, even like actual names of people? You're just going to have to start erasing those too? Like, where do we draw the line? Are we going to rename Canada because that word probably means something offensive to someone? It's just ridiculous.
Oh, it is ridiculous. And, Isabel and I'm just thinking of all our many talented camera people, went out to Ryerson campus last week, and we did streeters about the name change there. As I said, I went to journalism at Ryerson from 1981 to 1984. It was far less of a woke place. It was kind of, if you think of universities back in the early 80s, Natasha, you probably weren't born then, as you like to say, and make me feel older all the time. But think of going to the circus, folks, and there's the big tent act with the 3 rings, and those are the mainstream acts. And then there used to be what was called the circus sideshow. That's where you'd go to see the geek who would bite heads off chickens. Ooh. And a university was kind of like that. The normalcy was under the big tent, and then there were these crazy, Marxist clubs and other kinds of radicalized clubs. Now what's happened in the past 40 years or so is the opposite. Under the big tent is all the woke insanity, and off in the circus sideshow is the reasonable people. Those who don't want to come out as a conservative because they'll be shunned and probably canceled. So the funny thing is with Ryerson University, there was a very fantastic scholarly report published last year, which was basically saying Egerton Ryerson got a bum deal, that he died 2 years before the residential school system came into effect. And I urge everyone to read that. But the mob came out last summer. They beheaded Egerton Ryerson's statue, pulled it down. And instead of, applying criminal charges, the gutless administration bent the knee and said, we're going to rename Ryerson. In fact, they immediately renamed Ryerson. Many members of the student body and the faculty were calling Ryerson until last week University X, which I got to tell you, I wish they kept. That gives it a Marvel Comics vibe.
It's a cooler vibe.
Yeah,
for sure.
Like Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters. Oh, not a lot of gifted youngsters on that campus these days, folks. But the point is, to your point, where does it end? One of the fellows I interviewed on the street was a guy wearing a Queen's sweatshirt. And I'm not making a joke here. I'm going to call it because this is inevitable with the way we're going in society. How long before Queen's has to change its name?
Yeah.
Because what's Queen's? It's colonialism. It's imperialism. It's the matriarchy or patriarchy. It's the royal family. That is not in fashion anymore. How long do you give it before Queen's gets the X?
No, absolutely. And, I think it's just interesting that, people think that these names of people are actually causing physical harm. Like, how is it harmful? Of course, I think it's important that we learn from our history and we reflect on it so that we can be better. And I mean, of course, as you mentioned about the Ryerson thing, there's some, it's not fully aligned with the narrative that's being perpetuated. But let's just learn and move on. We don't need to change names and tear down statues. It gives me 1984 vibes, frankly.
You're right, and you bring to mind 2 points. First of all, when it comes to Egerton Ryerson, who Ryerson was named after, You show me a great man, you show me a great woman, I'll show you a flawed man and a flawed woman. Nobody is perfect.
No.
Absolutely no. But in this day and age of cancel culture, there is a benchmark of perfection. If you've said or done one little politically incorrect thing, off with his or her head, that's a deadly route to go down on. And to what you were saying too about safety, constantly with this process that we hear, we need a safe space, folks. It's, like the idea of this name, whether it's Ryerson and of course Dundas Street is soon to be renamed. It's an unsafe situation. I can't help but think, Natasha, that when it comes to safety, if we had a live wire in our studio, this studio is an unsafe space. If you know that there are sharks in the water and you go swimming, that's an unsafe place. Are we so fragile? Is the young of today so fragile? Because I think about 80 or so years ago, folks, when people under 18, boys as young as 15 were lying about their age to sign up to go to World War II. Think about that. And now we have these soy boy snowflakes on campus that say, oh, gracious, that name, it's creating an unsafe space. What's the deal?
Well, and what about the fact that it's okay, they want safe spaces, but women aren't allowed to, do sports or go to prison or go to a bathroom without a biological male potentially being around? Where do you draw the line?
Oh, you're so right.
I
mean, an unsafe space is defined by unsafe thoughts or names.
Right.
But when it comes to a physical, clear and present danger, like you said in Canada, if I ever got convicted of anything, folks, and is this wood? I'll touch
so.
wood anyways. I could. All I have to do is this, Judge. I'm a chick, even though no hormone shots, no slicing and dicing of the genitalia. And guess what? I go to a women's penitentiary,
right,
and I get to carry out my jihad of violence with the authorities turning a blind eye. How did we get to this point?
I don't know. Godlessness? I'm not sure. I think progressivism has just become a religion, frankly, and it's an idol for these people. It's for some reason it's just all they have. I don't know.
You know what? I would say though, Natasha, even if you were a hardcore atheist or agnostic, you can still maintain a level of morality,
for sure,
and ethics.
Yeah, because it's within you, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you can still tell that a man going to a female penitentiary is wrong and despicable. But Justin Trudeau changed this when he was questioned by some radical trans activist at some town hall meeting. And this is the State of the Union now. So unsafe names, they're gone with the wind. Unsafe physicality, come on down, as they like to say on, is it Let's Make a Deal or The Price is Right? Price is right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, the price is wrong, folks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I guess maybe we should just talk about that professor that's fighting back after questioning woke ideas, because we have talked about this before when we've done the live stream. There are people who are pushing back, and it does seem to be working, and I think it's important. So yeah, maybe we should just touch on this one quickly.
100%. Fire away.
So MRU professor fights back after being fired for questioning woke ideas. So Francis Widowson, a Mount Royal University professor, is fired for questioning woke ideas, and they're pursuing legal action to protect academic freedom and free speech in universities. What I find most interesting is that don't progressives understand that soon, things will become so woke and everything will be so worthy of cancellation that they themselves will be canceled as well? You're not safe either.
This is part of, I think, a growing trend, and it's a good thing, of the pendulum finally swinging the other way. I think we spoke, you and I, last week, about a U.S. professor who won a settlement of $400,000 U.S. because he refused to play the goofy pronoun game. He was completely respectful of everyone in his class, however you identify, but he said, I'm not going to do the Z-zer, zay, zoom, whatever bullcrap. And he was forced, there you go, he was forced to basically embrace compelled speech. This is something Jordan Peterson has spoken out against. He stuck to his guns and went to court Oh my God, isn't that beautiful? A US $400,000 award. What's shameful is the university didn't accept defeat, gladly. They said, we're still going to try to do everything we can to make this university, again, safe space, right?
Oh my goodness.
And, but that is a sign and a financial, kick in the gonads. That surely should make this university pay attention. Apparently, they don't care. It doesn't matter. I'm so happy this guy has got 400 grand minus legal fees in his pocket. And then we have this. We have to take a stand against this.
Yeah.
We can't go any further down this ludicrous far-left progressive Marxist route, Natasha.
Yeah, especially because when this professor at MRU is trying to uphold free speech, that means free speech for everyone. It's not just a personal fight. He wants it for the people who hate, or this is a woman, I think. This person wants it for the people who hate them, though, too. So it's funny how we're all fighting for freedom, as conservatives, to conserve and to, just uphold a more free place for everyone.
And you know what's so sad, Natasha? You mentioned conservatives believe in these ideals, but so too did the liberals. I speak of the classical liberals. They were all about freedom of the press and free speech and free expression and freedom of assembly. And now the left, more and more of them, they've devolved into adherents of cancel culture. No longer do we have the motto, well, let's agree to disagree and go to the pub and have a pint. Now it's, I hate you for your opinion. You have to be canceled. You have to be economically disciplined, as in forever. In this country, you commit first-degree murder. You go to the cooler for 25 years, and then unless you're deemed a dangerous offender, you're released. We believe in giving murderers a second chance. We believe in they've paid their debt to society, but if you are found to be in the position of wrong speak or wrong thought, it is a life sentence in the cultural penalty box. How, again, I'm being repetitive, how did we get here?
I don't know, because when I was in high school, our teachers were very keen on pushing, critical thinking. And now that seems not to be the case. So I feel like that is probably where this all started, this sort of lack of critical thinking in the education system, I think. I don't have the answer, but I'm brainstorming.
I think you're right. I think once upon a time in the education system, you were taught how to think.
Yeah.
Now you're told what to think.
Yeah.
And if you have a contrarian opinion, you are demonized and vilified.
Yeah.
And that's despicable.
Yeah, no, it is. But it is exciting to see that people are, pushing back. And I mean, even Chris Pratt was under fire last week because he goes to church and people don't like that he upholds a biblical, standard of marriage. And the mob went after him and was calling on him to be replaced for Guardians of the Galaxy. And Kat and I actually talk about this on our show, which comes out today at 7 p.m., Misunderstood, so be sure to tune in.
Yeah, plug your show. What is Misunderstood all about if you haven't seen it? And folks, I'm telling you, don't you dare miss it, as Billy Red Lions used to say. It's a wonderful show. But for those who haven't tuned in, give yourself a little bit of an advertisement here.
Oh, sure. Okay, yeah. So Catherine Krasnowski and I host Misunderstood every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Rebel News Plus, and it's basically just a show about culture and politics for those of us who might feel, politically misunderstood, culturally misunderstood. We basically just touch on the culture wars from a Christian conservative perspective, and it's lots of fun. We talk about fun things, celebrities. We criticize the gender ideology and all that. It's a lot of fun, and you should definitely check it out. You can also watch it for free every Saturday at 2 p.m. at watchmisunderstood.com. So be sure to
And you
tune
have
in.
some interesting guests. Our very own high energy Andrew Says, Ben Bankus, comedian supreme. By the way, I kind of noticed I haven't been invited on. He's trying to give me memories of high school here, being shunned. Unbelievable.
We'll be sure to have you on to talk about we'll do a fashion segment with you. I think that'll be fun.
Oh, I know you're being facetious.
No,
How dare you?
I'm being serious. But just going back to the Chris Pratt thing, though, the director of Guardians of the Galaxy, said no. He said, no, I'm not firing Chris Pratt. You guys are making this up. You're pulling this out of thin air. And it's just great that he was defending him, and just not caving to the mob.
And you're 100% right, Natasha. And here's the problem, folks. When you bend the knee, and I'm talking about whether you're a corporation, whether you're Hollywood, whether you're pro sports, whether you're academia, for the people you are bending the knee to, it is never enough for them.
No.
It only emboldens them. They don't go, oh, thank you for embracing our point of view. They go, and another thing, what about this?
Yeah, the goalpost is always shifting.
It never ends.
Yeah.
You know, what we need with people in charge is a spine. I mean, is it too much to ask for a little testicular fortitude and standing up against these people? What would be the female version of testicular fortitude? Now that I think of it, I don't want to be exclusionary here, folks.
You know what? I'm all right if you are. But to your point, though, you know, and that's the thing with the Conservative Party of Canada specifically. It's like you're supposed to be conserving. So you better be fighting to conserve. And we have not seen that in the past. And I'm less optimistic than you are. But I hope that at the very least, the Conservative Party will just start conserving.
Well, on the good news front, we're down to 6 candidates. One of the fake liberals, fake conservatives, a true liberal, that would be Leona Alislav. She dropped out on Friday, couldn't raise the full $300,000. So of the 6 remaining, we only have now 2 fake conservatives. That would be Jean Charest, who was the liberal premier of Quebec for 8 years, and of course, sneaky Patrick Brown, full-time Brampton mayor, part-time Zamboni/Beaver inspector, the kind of guy that when he was the leader of the PC Party of Ontario, he threw fiscal conservatives under the bus. He threw social conservatives under the bus. And guess what, little sneaky Patrick Brown? When there was no more conservatives to throw under the bus, the PC Party threw you under the bus. Thank God. So we're just down to 2 liberals in conservative clothing. And can't wait to see how this race pans out.
Yeah.
And by the way, when I accuse Leona Alislav of being a liberal, this is not an opinion, folks. This is a statement of facts. When she was first elected, it was 2015, she was elected as a liberal in the riding of Oak Ridges, Aurora, Richmond Hill. It's the riding I live in, full disclosure. In 2018, as the scuttlebutt goes, there was internal polling. This is a swing riding, that this riding was going to go conservative. So guess what? She crossed the floor.
Just wanted
Whiz
the
bang,
paycheck.
I'm a conservative. And unbelievably, for reasons I can't understand, Natasha, Andrew Scheer makes her deputy leader.
Really?
Yeah. Here comes the turncoat. Let's give her this title. And, you know, I got to tell you, Natasha, karma is a witch, isn't it? Because in the last election, guess what, folks? It swung back as a liberal, and Alislav was out of a job.
Oh, man.
And now she couldn't raise the required $300,000. Do you think that maybe grassroots conservative realized that why would I donate money to a fake conservative, to a liberal that only crossed the floor because she knew the riding was going to switch?
Oh yeah, I think you nailed it. Yeah, I think people are onto this crap. You know.
Why are they? Whether it's Alislav, Brown, Charest, why are these phony balonies attracted to the Conservative Party? Why can't they do themselves as a favor and run under Team Red or Team Orange?
Do you think it's because they think that the pendulum is swinging? So the Conservatives are bound to do better this time. Should they, you know, so maybe they just want to be on the right side of history when it pertains to their political career. I don't know. I think that's the only thing I can think of.
True enough, I think maybe part of it is that this party is infected with too many red Tories.
Yeah.
And what did we witness last year?
Yeah.
We saw the infection spread into the body of Aaron O'Toole, who suddenly midway through an election campaign, the first 2 weeks, he was doing fantastic, and Justin Trudeau was doing miserable. I mean, even people on the left were saying, this is a horrible campaign. And then suddenly, it was like the high wire act, you know, the guy walking the high wire. Oh, I'm doing so great. And then he looks down and he goes, I can't believe how high up. And then he reversed himself on carbon taxes. He reversed himself on the gun grab. And suddenly, Aaron O'Toole became Mr. Liberal Light for the intention, I suppose, to get those Laurentian votes. Well, guess what? If you're a Liberal, why do I vote Liberal Light when I can have Liberal Classic?
Yeah, I just vote for Trudeau.
Yeah.
Right? Why not?
What a weakling.
Yeah.
I can't believe this guy served in the Canadian Armed Forces. Jeez.
Yeah, it's a shame.
He did, but now the leader is yesterday's man, and rightfully so. Hopefully, we don't see Charest or Brown getting the leadership. I think if that happens, they're going to lose to Trudeau again. And I think what will have to happen then is you'll have to burn this party to the ground, like they did with the PC party in Alberta many years ago, and rebranded it and came to power again. Because in baseball, you get 3 strikes. I don't think we can afford another weakling as a leader, another phony conservative as a leader of this party.
No, I think you're absolutely right. Should we promo the store?
Sure.
Let's talk about the store.
Was I boring you?
No,
Was I droning on?
He could never. There's nothing boring about you. But we should be promoting the store right now because there is currently a sale just in time for Mother's Day, which I guess is this Sunday.
Right.
Woo. So buy your mom a gift. Right now you can get 25% off a second item of lesser or equal value using code MOM25 at checkout. And we have some really cute mom merch like Rebel Mom, that shirt there, Rebel Grandma. We should have a Rebel Grandpa one for you for Father's Day.
Oh, jeez, thanks.
My mom is a rebel. Look at that. That's so great.
I love that.
Yeah, they're cute.
Here's the question. I raised this with our beloved colleague, Chief Reporter Sheila Gunn Reid. Natasha, if your mom has passed on, do you still give a Mother's Day gift, say, to your wife? Who
Yes.
You do?
If your wife has children, you got to get her a gift.
I want to see those rules, folks, because, and by the way, does that apply to fathers? Because even as a father, I don't even know what day Father's Day is. It is the most incredible afterthought. I mean, the world shuts down and every restaurant gets booked on Mother's Day, but Father's Day, find some tie at Dollarama. That'll tide them over.
Well, you're right. There has been a weird downplaying in our society on fathers, but I think, let's make a big deal out of Father's Day this year, for sure. We'll make sure it's a big one for you.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Yeah.
But beautiful merchandise.
Yeah, and I think Tamara has a little video that she made. So should we maybe watch that?
Absolutely.
Great.
Have you checked out the Rebel News store recently? We have fun new designs to support your freedom-loving needs, and it helps you to spot rebels in the wild. To check out our latest designs, head over to rebelnewsstore.com. In there, we have featured special new Mother's Day designs like the one I have on here. From Rebel Mom to Rebel Grandma to My Mom is a Rebel, there are totes, shirts, hat, and these really nice pink hoodies. For a limited time, we are having a store promo, BOGO. So buy one, get one 25% off using the code MOM25 just in time for Mother's Day for the freedom-loving woman in your life. Head on over to rebelnewsstore.com and snatch yours up today.
I got to tell you, Natasha, I love Tamara Ugolini.
Yeah.
I think, is she up to 4 kids, I think it is right
I think
now?
so.
And she always looks so fit and healthy.
She's a super mom.
She is a super mom.
Yeah.
She is that definition of the super mom.
Yeah.
And she looked great in that.
Yeah, she looks so cute.
It was so fantastic. And I want to thank womanhood. I don't think you've had a child yet. Is that correct?
No, I have a pug.
Okay, then that's sort of like half a child. But the process of childbirth. If males who are so pain adverse had to give birth, folks, I really believe Homo sapiens is looking at its extinction event. I think of Lady Menzoid when she gave birth. Holy mackerel. The screaming, the crying, the kicking. And that was just at the point of conception, folks.
Oh, my gosh.
Anyway. What's next on the list?
Should we do some chats? Do we have any chats?
Why not?
Thanks so much for pivoting, super producer Olivia. Alrighty, this is from Becca Henderson. Thank you for your $1. Where is that study about the numbers of women dying from unsafe abortions being inflated? Trying to debunk that myth, but can't find anything online. Yeah, so actually go to liveaction.org and click their learn more. So it's liveaction.org. It is an American pro-life site, but they have a lot of data and they actually have a lot of resources to equip you on how to better debate your pro-life stance. So yeah, definitely check it out there.
And can you tell the audience, Natasha, what liveaction.org is all about then?
Yeah, it basically is just they are an organization that seeks to educate people on, the abortion movement. They basically have videos, they do a lot of activism, and they try to actually, empower people and change legislation. It's a really great organization, so definitely check it out.
I'm just looking at that Meet Baby Olivia. That's not a photograph of super producer Olivia behind the board right now, once upon a time.
Yeah, no.
No?
It's
Okay,
not.
then.
Yeah.
Just asking.
Yeah.
What a beautiful baby, though.
Yeah, it's so cute. But definitely check out the site, and like I said, they have a lot of resources to help you out and equip you. So
Fantastic.
check it out.
All right. And do we have any more? Yes, here we go.
This is from AMT60. Thank you for your $1. David, regarding two-tier healthcare, wouldn't this cause the good doctors to join the private sector as they would get more money for private insurance? Older people could be denied for pre-existing conditions.
AMT 60, I don't think that's been the case in countries like France and Germany. I know there's this whole vilification of two-tier healthcare, that the public system is a ghetto. It is not the case. And the rate we're going with the amount of our taxes going into the private healthcare system as our country gets older and older, the public healthcare system rather, I think this is the only solution out of that fiscal death trap. It's just going to get worse in terms of the amount of money that we put into the public system, the longer wait times, and people, Natasha, literally dying while they're waiting for their procedure. Something that got even worse during COVID, by the way.
Yeah, no, it's something's got to give.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And that's the way. What is wrong with, the left is always talking about pro-choice when it comes to abortion. What's wrong with pro-choice when it comes to healthcare? If I was fortunate enough to have enough money for my procedure at a private healthcare institution, and I get out of the line and Natasha moves one space up, that's win-win.
Yeah.
Right?
No, it is, definitely. Do we have any more chats? This is from G Melinda G60. Thank you for your $2. Waiting for my Rebel Mom t-shirts for my sister and I. Oh, that's so nice. And I love Rebel News. Oh, thank you. Thanks for buying some merch. It helps us keep the lights on. So
what
we
did we say?
definitely
The t-shirt is in the mail?
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope. And it's this Sunday, right?
Yeah.
Mother's Day. Okay, then let's hope it gets. I hope it gets to you. I'm pretty sure it would. By the way, Canada Post gets kicked around a lot. But I'll tell you, my experience, and folks, this is me calling them as I see them. Based on personal experience, Canada Post has never been faster, and I think it looks like the majority of the mail is junk mail, which they call ad mail.
yeah.
Nobody I know outside of Canada Post calls it that, because, everything is electronic, or at least the vast majority is. So those sending letters and postcards, it's greatly reduced, and that makes things get out faster. So a shout out to Canada Post, which used to be awful and was horrible back in the 70s when you would go on a national strike and literally hold the country hostage. Those days are gone.
Well, thank God for that.
Yes, I agree.
Speaking of things that might not be gone, apparently, according to TAM, the mask rule must remain. So we should probably tread lightly here because we are still on YouTube. But this is interesting because didn't they lift the mask mandate on planes? I think this is specifically about planes and transportation. Didn't they recently lift the mask mandate in the United States on planes? So is the science different?
No, I've seen videos of entire aircraft passengers cheering.
Yeah.
That I think isn't that one of the issues they're going to fight to get that decision overturned? That's the U.S. federal government.
Yeah, I think Biden is trying to overturn that, but I don't think he'll be successful. Do you?
I hope not.
Yeah, I hope not either.
Boy, as our beloved colleague Sheila Gunn Reid likes to say, what a fun burglar, right? I mean, we want you to remain in a hermetically sealed tube for 6, 7, if it's a transatlantic flight, 14, 15, 16-hour flight. with a non-medical face diaper affixed to your face. Of course, you can remove it when you eat and drink,
Right.
Because the virus knows not to infect you when you're hungry or thirsty. It's the science, folks.
It is. And well, and also the air in a plane is filtered constantly. It's very clean. I think you're very unlikely to catch the virus on a plane.
That's a very good point.
Right?
Yeah.
And I mean, like, for me, it's like if you want to wear one, of course, go for it. But why do you have to force me to wear one when I don't want to?
Yeah.
You know?
And we were talking about pregnancy and abortion. Dr. Tam, that's one of these other woke joke authorities that refers to pregnant women as pregnant people.
Oh, I didn't know people could give birth.
And I think also menstruating people.
Oh.
She said, yeah.
Okay. Wow. Interesting.
Well, I don't know. The way
She's
I feel
following
right,
the science.
I don't feel myself right now. Could I be experiencing that time of the month?
Are you with child? I guess he's a birthing person, folks. Anything's possible in 2022. Yeah, and I don't know. I just think it's interesting because the mask mandate has lifted in almost every province, I believe, right?
What would you say, Natasha, and I'm including Australia in this comment, are we like still the most locked down jurisdiction perhaps in the world? I mean, is there any place worse than Canada? Those who are unvaxxed, you're under house arrest. You can't get on a plane, a train, a boat. So if you have a relative, say, in British Columbia and you're on the East Coast, book off 4 days of driving across the country. That's the only way you're going to get there.
See you in a few days, Dad.
But which country is worse right now?
I think we're still up there other than Australia. I'm not too sure because I feel like the whole COVID narrative is kind of less relevant right now.
Yeah.
There's so much else going on. But yeah, I mean, the fact that we can't practice our constitutional right of being able to travel, across provinces it's pretty bleak.
It is. And Natasha, let's not forget that, part of the problem is the size of our nation. We are the second biggest country in the world.
That's a great point.
So it's not like you're in Ireland, say, and it's just maybe 2 hours, to get to the other end or what have you, by car. We are in a nation of so many thousand square kilometers.
Yep.
And that really hampers the experience of getting around, quite frankly. So
no, that's a really good point. Should we play this video of Trudeau?
Oh, goody.
Talking about COVID.
What is?
I'd love to hear what he has to say.
What is Blackface McGroper saying today?
Oh gosh.
That these past years haven't been easy. Yes, because of COVID, which hit everyone very hard, but hit our most vulnerable and those who already face systemic discrimination and racism harder. But it also needs to be a reflection that Canada has gotten more challenging in a number of ways over these past years, particularly for Muslim Canadians, with a rise in Islamophobia, a rise in hatred, a rise in hate crimes, terrible incidents like at the Sainte Foy Mosque, like just last year with the Afzal family, or other incidents of violence and hatred that strike this community. And that's why, as Canadians, we all need to gather together and stand together to make sure that no one in Canada should ever be treated this way, that kind of hatred and racism has no place in Canada.
Holy smokes. By the way, was he conflating COVID with systemic discrimination and racism? What connection did I miss there in terms of the pandemic and race?
So is COVID racist? Is that what he said?
And if you're going to go off on a tangerine about hate crimes, I wouldn't necessarily lead with Islamophobia first, because the most recent stats came out looking at hate crimes of last year, and number one with a bullet was anti-Semitic. And that has been a continuing trend, unfortunately, for the last several years. But this is a guy twice when he was doing a Holocaust event, couldn't even mention the J word, Jews, that they were the primary victim of the Holocaust. Granted, there were others, gypsies, homosexuals, but the vast majority of the 6 million that perished were Jewish, and this prime minister couldn't utter that. And yet he's always so down on the Islamophobia. And you mentioned, as it was playing, not so down on Christian churches, the most recent of which was desecrated in Trudeau's backyard in Ottawa.
Right.
And that would be the Capital City Bikers Church, where I attended with Isabel on Sunday morning, and we found that overnight it was desecrated. Spray paint saying "No haven for fascism" on the ground, tacks scattered everywhere in order to give flats to the people. Now, there you go. Folks, this is perversely ironic because the only example of fascism is the people that did the vandalism. Everyone there it was a lovely congregation. It overflowed the church. They had to, pipe the sermon into the courtyard. And it's odd that why is it that the next day, Natasha, Prime Minister Trudeau didn't get up behind his podium and say, this kind of hatred is offside?
Well, it just makes it seem like he has a strange aversion to Christians, frankly.
And yet, isn't he a Catholic?
Oh, I don't know. I think he could use that term very loosely at this point.
Yeah. Well, I'm just appalled at this double standard.
Yeah.
We saw last year, approximately 60 churches across Canada, many on native reserves, burned to the ground or vandalized. It was the most overlooked, underreported story of 2021. Natasha, if those places of worship, if they were mosques, if they were Hindu or Sikh temples, if they were synagogues, what do you think it would still be on the front page today?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's just clear that there's a double standard here, and it's almost as if he has this strange agenda to spew hatred and create polarization between Christians. It's crazy.
It's a disgrace, and it is a disgrace on two fronts. The Trudeau Liberals and their trained and bought and paid for SEALs in the mainstream media who think, hey, nothing to see here.
Yeah.
Holy smokers. They say time flies when you're having fun. I've had so much fun with you today, Natasha. I see it's 1 o'clock. Let me just double check that we haven't missed any super chats. A few more. Fantastic. That's how we pay the bills here.
This is from Becca Henderson. Thank you for your $1. Have you seen Twitter and libs of TikTok since the leak? They make the no comment girl look smart. Cue the mostly peaceful protests. Oh, man.
You know what? If some of the members of our audience is unaware of what Becca Henderson is talking about, the no comment girl, I'm going to appeal to our crack team of producers behind the counter to bring up the encounter I had on Parliament Hill as there were thousands of people gathered at the National War Memorial. And it wasn't even a protest or a demonstration. It was a celebration, rather. And they were placing wreaths at the National War Memorial. There was one single solitary counter-protester. And, I'll let the video speak for itself. As soon as, is Olivia, are you ready to go with that? Yes. Just check out Witchy Poo. Nebulous is freedom.
The concept of a nebulous freedom. They don't have a specific title, a specific reason for being here. They're all over the place, and all they're doing is suppressing Ottawa residents, Ottawa businesses. We are being harassed and held hostage for their supposed encroachments on freedom. What does a single fucking white man have to say to anybody about a bodily autonomy freedoms?
I'm not sure what race has to do with it.
I didn't say anything about race.
You said a white man.
Single white man, sure, race.
Okay, so what does race have to do with it? When I look at people that are gathering here today, it's right across the multi-diverse spectrum.
No more comments.
Oh, okay then. Well, by the way, when it says convoy go home, didn't the convoy go home in February?
They called it a convoy. It's a convoy.
You mean this gathering here? Is that a convoy?
Please go away.
Okay, then.
No more comments.
All right. But
No more comments.
it just seems to
No
me-
more comments.
Okay.
No more comments.
You can't articulate.
No more comments.
Wow.
No more comments.
Have I triggered you?
No more comments. No more comments. No more comments.
I feel bad for
No
her.
more
Oh my God.
comments.
It's like interviewing on
No more
Coldplay and your
comments.
soda doesn't come
No
out.
more comments.
She just.
No more comments. No more comments.
It's like a.
No more comments.
fembot.
No more comments.
And you think
No
that
more comments.
somebody is going
No
to
more
go on a
comments.
corner.
Walk away. No more comments. Back away. No more comments. No more comments.
Why do I have to
No
walk away?
more comments. No more comments. No more comments.
You always find yourself in these situations, huh?
No more comments.
I'm now interviewing a side. Oh boy, where do we
boy.
begin? First of all, you know who might be the happiest woman in the world right now? It's Trigglypuff. We have
Oh my
a
gosh.
new hysterical toddler that I'm sure somebody is creating a meme from. But you know, two things. One is this, Natasha. If you were going anywhere to demonstrate, I don't think I've ever been in a demonstration in my life. I've covered, maybe over 100. But wouldn't you have a cheat sheet, points that if anyone challenges me on my opinions or facts, this is my rebuttal, as opposed to screaming no more comments? And secondly, this is something people on the left always do. You noticed she said, "Get away from me," as I was rooted like a statue.
Yeah.
She moves, there's Triggly.
Oh my gosh.
Could you imagine waking up to that in the morning? But the point is, she's moving towards me saying, "Get away from me." What do you make of that slice of insanity?
I agree with you. I think if you're going to go out and protest, you need to know what you're protesting at the very least and be able to defend your positions. You don't even need to articulate it that well. Just have something,
Well, her something was convoy go home. This was
Not specific enough.
This was April 30th.
Yeah.
The convoy went home at the end of February.
Yeah.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, because the motorcyclists were very clear that they didn't want to be associated with the convoy. Like they were not a convoy. So
Yeah.
at least know what's coming to your town, girl.
Spectacular. So anyways, that is someone that I think for the rest of her life will be known as No More Comments Girl.
Sad.
And somewhere, like I said, Trigglypuff is doing cartwheels. I don't think that's possible, actually.
Oh my gosh, David Menzies.
But we have some more comments.
All right, this is from Becca Henderson. Thank you for your $1. Suddenly, with the abortion debate, we now know what a woman is again. That's a great point. Wow. They lost the right to say no uterus, no opinion when they say men can be women. That's such a good point.
That Becca Henderson is brilliant. I concur with my colleague Natasha here. Suddenly, we're now in a debate of women's issues as opposed to people's issues.
Right. But that's what we touched on earlier. Yeah. They can change the narrative, they can change the argument, the debate whenever they see fit.
Yep.
It's crazy. It's madness.
Selective science.
Exactly.
As we said, eh?
Exactly.
Unbelievable.
Right.
Is that it, Miss Producer Olivia? Yes. Well, folks, thank you so much for tuning in. A special thank you to all those who gave donations. Like I said, it's how we pay the hydro bills here at Rebel News headquarters. Special thank you to you, Natasha, for filling in for the She-Devil on such short notice.
Anytime.
And there'll be a couple of other Rebels here tomorrow. And in the meantime, folks, as always, stay sane.
They came for me. Be sure of it. They're going to come for you as well. That's history. That's not Artur Pawlowski preaching. That's history. Jason Kenney has caught red-handed, breaking the same court order I was caught under opening the church. Guilty as charged, right? I end up in prison. I end up being charged criminally. Excuse me, where is Jason Kenney? Why there are no tickets against him? When you're a good Nazi, you're going to be rewarded. Taylor Chandra, this wicked evil man that have sent those Gestapo to shut down our churches, destroy our businesses, he has been rewarded. And he is the one that sent me to prison. That's the same guy that was caught red-handed in a Sky Palace, breaking his own rules.